The much anticipated summer event from DC Comics is finally here with Absolute Power issue 1 by Mark Waid and Dan Mora. Amanda Waller's long-planned takeover of Earth and imprisonment of the superhero community gets off to a bang, quite literally, as Superman stops a pretty run-of-the-mill bank robbery, with everything seeming normal with the crook's escape route cut off, and they open fire on the Man of Steel, something which he anticipates, but instead of the bullets bouncing off his chest, they go right through him, causing the hero to plunge to the ground with 3 bullet holes in him. Of course, Mark Waid loves a good opening cliffhanger, and we return to 28 hours earlier where all seems fine. That is until Animal Man and his daughter are brutally attacked in the street by people who begin calling him and his daughter murderers. So as it turns out, Waller has been manipulating the news cycle, using AI fake footage of heroes attacking people all over the world to rile up the masses. The chaos that Waid builds in these opening scenes is really pretty great. The heroes have no clue what's going on and can't really respond to it, since normal everyday people are attacking the heroes, so if they fight back, then they feed into Waller's lies. There was one very tiny thing that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, it's probably something that was overlooked, and that is that Wonder Woman mentions that Hal Jordan doesn't have his ring right now, yet he's out apparently killing people. However, if you have been following the Green Lantern book like I have, you know he actually does have a ring. It's one little mistake which I'm willing to forget. It's fine, you're not going to get everything right, I totally understand it, there's a lot to be balanced here. Meanwhile, at the Daily Planet, Lois refuses to run any of the stories on the incidents since she and Clark both know they are all clearly fake, and she doesn't want to feed into the media panic. Unfortunately, Waller, whose words have been playing out over the course of these pages in a letter she's been writing, has taken over the Planet's servers and are forcing the paper to broadcast the news of the fake attacks, even going so far as to make up fake online personalities that will talk about the attack and spread it even further. Of course, the American government disowns everything that Waller is doing, and I like Waid is sure to make it clear that she is going against the wishes of the White House and the government, although we know Waller doesn't much care for this president, and in fact the Bureau of Sovereignty, which he operates, doesn't even answer to the president. In fact, it's the other way around. Now, Waid isn't one to shy away from a topical message in any of his books, and the message here is pretty clear, and Waller even runs it through in case you don't really understand it, and she does it in a really great way. Waller's whole thing is that you don't need Joker gas or fancy armors or anything like that to turn the tide in a war, and while they help, what really does the trick is media control, and if you get the memorable message out there to the masses and repeat it over and over again to them, you will win. This is something we've seen all in real life as well, especially in politics, especially American politics, and Waid ingraining that within his story has done rather well, and that actually surprised me, since usually it's something that sits on top of a writer's base story with little ties here and there in the actual plot, but Waid has built it into all parts of his story, beginning back with the build up to Waller taking over everything, which started like almost 3 years ago now, and it continues here with her using Brainiac Queen, the newest addition to her team just from last week, who is now effectively controlling the media for her, acting as one big bot server farm more or less. Brainiac Queen isn't Waller's only tool, as Failsafe, Batman's contingency for himself, has joined Waller's mission and readied Task Force 7, the Amazo Justice League, who are finally activated and sent out to deal with the heroes in what they call Phase 2. The heroes meanwhile are still rushing around trying to curb all these attacks, and I think it's cool that they're kind of all disorganized, don't really know what the hell is happening, and the attack took them off balance, but it took them even more off balance because they have no Justice League in place to react fast. Like Batman in the opening pages of this has to rely on secret backdoor channels he has with, you know, the Superman family and the other superhero communities to actually communicate with each other. They don't have like a dedicated communication hub like they would have had if they had a Justice League. With Task Force 7 out in the world, Superman is the first target, naturally, and he has his powers taken from him while he is shot at by the crooks we saw at the beginning, hence why he had no powers when they shot him and he fell out of the sky. John and Connor respond to Clark being shot, and their powers are also taken as Amanda Waller finally reveals herself to the masses and the superhero community, telling the heroes that they will be dealt with in what she calls the ultimate solution, which is basically the Amazos will take all of their powers and end the hero threat permanently, implying that all of their powers that have been taken are permanently gone. The Amazers continue to take the powers as Batman finally realizes what Waller was planning, which was to lure them all out into the opening with all of that fake footage and the heroes rushing to sort of curb all of the attacks and everything, all so she could take all of their powers. Waller's plan really does go off without a hitch, and it looks really cool thanks to the amazing talents of Dan Mora, DC's current star artist. Every page is just pure magic, and I don't know how he does it. There's just no drop in quality at all. Even when he's doing a book that's over 30 pages long, it all just looks so grand and cinematic, and even the smallest detail is given time and love, and there's just some really great background detail in all of these pages. While the Amazos wreak havoc across the world, Batman is contacted by Green Arrow, who reveals that he is working for Waller, further building on his time we saw in Green Arrow issue 13, where he turned to Waller's team, and we kind of learn a little bit more about why he's exactly going with her, and that is that he wishes that heroes would stop always focusing on, the big bombastic events, like as he puts it, corking a volcano, and turn to things like society's real problems, like empowering the powerless and helping those down in the streets. I can absolutely see where he is coming from, and again, as I said in my review of Green Arrow issue 13, Oliver has definitely been a more of a liberal hero than most heroes, so of course he would want this change, and he sees that this is the way to do it, and he hates himself for it, but he is still willing to go along with it, and I think that's a really interesting way to take the character like Oliver, and I'm really intrigued to see what Mark Waid does with him over the course of this series. The book is sure to close out telling us that the heroes are not only blocked from space thanks to the United Planets blockade, they are blocked from the microverse, they can't turn back time with the Speed Force or anything like that, or even blocked from the multiverse, so they are truly alone and powerless to do anything. The book does feature a really interesting epilogue though, as John Kent is taken by the Amazos, not just defeated like the other heroes were, and later he wakes up with no memory of who or what he is, and apparently he's in the middle of being converted into a cyborg, effectively making him the cyborg Superman. I have no idea what Waid has planned for someone like John, and I'm intrigued to see what he is going to do with him, especially because I didn't think this would be something that he would be doing, tying him literally directly into, because he's interfaced with the Brainiac Queen, which is quite interesting because the Brainiac Queen is effectively, the progeny of Brainiac, and, John is the progeny of Superman and Lois. So I like there's this dynamic there, and I'm intrigued to see if they're actually going to play with that. Absolute Power was one hell of an opening swing from Mark Waid and Dan Mora, setting the stakes and tone for the event right from page 1. Waid expertly pulls together almost 3 years of build-up and stories and does it rather flawlessly, apart from a few little, nitpicks I had with canon and everything, but that's just me because I'm a canon nerd. But overall, he's done a fantastic job writing everything and putting it in an order that's easy to follow, and we are now set for the event to open up with the tie-ins and the rest of the series. I'm going to give this issue a 9.5 out of 10.